You have never seen an Amish man standing in his kitchen at midnight, sleeve rolled up, plunging a sink that won't drain. It doesn't happen. They don't keep a plumber's number on the fridge. They don't buy the bright orange jug from the hardware store. And they have not, in 200 years of running water through their homes, paid $85 an hour to have a stranger snake a line that a $2 box of mineral would have cleared on its own. That's the part nobody tells you. The thing that destroys almost every clog in an American home costs about $2. It sits on a low shelf at the grocery store, and the companies that sell you the expensive stuff would honestly rather you walked right past it. Stick with me, because by the end of this, I'm going to give you the one move the Amish use that means the clog never even forms. Not a cure, a prevention. The single most valuable thing in this whole video, and it takes about 30 seconds a week, I'm saving it for last, because once you hear it, you'll wonder why you ever did it any other way. But first, let's talk about what that clog is really costing you. Picture it, the water in your kitchen sink is sitting there, gray, greasy, it's got little bits of food floating in a slow circle, and it is not going down. You run the disposal, nothing. You wait, nothing. You go grab the plunger from behind the toilet, and now you've got dirty toilet water and dirty sink water meeting in the middle, and your hands smell like a swamp. So you do what most folks do. You drive to the store, you buy the jug, the one that promises it'll eat through anything, $6, $7, $8. You pour the whole thing in, because the label makes it sound like more is better, and you stand back like you're lighting a firework, and maybe it works. This time, but here's what that jug is actually doing. Most of those heavy-duty drain products are built around lye or sulfuric acid, and they work by generating heat, a lot of it, right there inside your pipe. That heat softens grease? Sure. It also softens the glue on your PVC joints, it bakes onto the inside of older metal pipes, and if you've got a real clog, a solid one, that caustic liquid just sits on top of it, pooling, sitting against the same spot in your pipe for an hour, doing more damage to the pipe than to the clog, then it doesn't fully work. So you buy another jug, that's $16, still slow. So now you call the plumber, and the plumber is not a villain. Let me say that plain. A good plumber is worth every penny when you've got a real problem, a collapsed line, a root in the sewer, something behind the wall. But for a grease clog under your kitchen sink, you just paid a service call, a minimum charge, maybe $150, maybe $200, for a man to do something you could have done in your bathrobe with a box that costs less than a cup of coffee. The average homeowner spends somewhere around $200 to $300 a year fighting slow drains, jugs of chemical, the occasional service call, the new plunger, the little plastic snake from the checkout aisle that snaps off in the pipe. It adds up, and almost none of it is necessary. So let's fix that for good. Here's the turn. Here's the relief. The mineral the Amish reach for isn't some secret herb from a root cellar. It's sodium carbonate. You probably know it by its store name, washing soda. Some folks call it soda ash. It comes in a yellow box in the laundry aisle, right near the borax, and it runs about $2 to $4 depending on where you live. One box lasts most families the better part of a year. Now, you've heard of baking soda. That's its gentler cousin, sodium bicarbonate. Same family, but they are not the same strength. And that difference is the whole ball game, which I'll explain in a minute, because it's the part most people get completely backwards. For now, just know this. Washing soda is one of the oldest cleaning minerals humans have. The Egyptians used a natural form of it called natron. It shows up in dry lake beds as a real mineral you can scoop off the ground. It's been pulling grease out of fabric and off of dishes since long before anybody had indoor plumbing to clog. The Amish didn't invent it. They just never stopped using it, while the rest of us got talked into the fancy jug. And the reason works on a clog is beautiful because it's not violent. It's chemistry you can actually picture. Let me paint it for you. Think about what's actually blocking your kitchen drain. 9 times out of 10, it's grease. Bacon fat, butter, the oil off a roast, the slick stuff that goes down the sink as a hot liquid, and then 3 feet down the pipe where it's cool and dark, turns back into a waxy solid. It coats the inside of the pipe like candle wax in a straw. Then food bits and coffee grounds and little threads of who knows what catch on that wax, and the opening gets smaller and smaller until one day the water just stops. Now here's the magic. Washing soda is strongly alkaline. When you get it onto grease in hot water, it does something called saponification. That's a big word for a simple thing. It turns the grease into soap. Literally, the same reaction old-timers used to make soap from animal fat and wood ash on the back porch. The fat in the alkali meet, and the fat stops being a stubborn, waxy solid and becomes something soft and slippery that just rinses away. You're not blasting the clog. You're not burning it. You're converting it. You're turning the very thing that's blocking your pipe into soap and then washing that soap down the drain. That's why it's so gentle on your plumbing and so hard on the gunk. The bright orange jug attacks. The mineral converts. That's the difference. And once you see it that way, you can't unsee it. So let me give you the exact method. Amounts, timing, the order you do it in, because the order matters more than you'd think. Start by boiling a kettle or a pot of water. Bring it to a real boil. While that's heating, take a tablespoon and scoop out about half a cup of washing soda. Have it ready by the sink. Now, if the drain still trickles even a little, do this. Pour the boiling water down first, slowly, in 2 or 3 rounds, with a few seconds between each pour. The hot water alone starts softening that wax coating. You'll sometimes hear the drain start to gulp a little as it loosens. Then pour in your half cup of washing soda right down the center. Then chase it with another 2 cups of very hot water, just enough to wash the powder down into the clog instead of leaving it sitting in the basket. And now the hard part. You wait. Give it 15 to 20 minutes, walk away, go fold a towel, let the chemistry do the work it does best, which is slow, steady conversion of grease into soap. Don't stand there poking it. After 15 or 20 minutes, run hot tap water for a full 2 minutes, not a quick splash. 2 minutes. So you flush all that softened, soapified grease the rest of the way down and out instead of letting it cool and re-harden further along the line. That's it. For a normal grease clog, that's usually all it takes. $2 of mineral and 20 minutes of patience. But what about the drain that's already completely stopped? Standing water won't budge. That's where most people give up and grab the phone. Don't. There's a version of this for that too, and it's the one your grandmother probably knew. If the water's standing, you want to bail out as much of it as you can first with a cup, because you need the washing soda to actually reach the clog, not float on top of a pool. Once it's mostly drained or bailed, pour in your half cup of washing soda dry. Then, and here's the old trick, pour in about a cup of plain white vinegar. You'll hear it. It fizzes up like a science fair volcano. That foaming is carbon dioxide gas, and that physical bubbling action helps lift and loosen debris that's just sitting there clinging while the soda goes to work on the grease. Put the stopper or a small plate over the drain for a minute so the fizzing pushes down into the clog instead of bubbling up into the sink. Wait 10 minutes, then flush with a full kettle of boiling water. Now, I have to be honest with you about that vinegar trick, because there's a lot of nonsense online about it. The fizzing is not some all-powerful clog destroyer by itself. When you mix baking soda and vinegar, they actually neutralize each other into mostly salt and water, so if you use them together, you lose some of the cleaning power of each. The real workers here are the alkali and the heat. The vinegar's job is just that mechanical fizz to break up loose debris. So use it for a stuck, gunky drain, but don't think the bubbles alone are doing the heavy lifting. The mineral and the hot water are the muscle. The fizz is just the helper. Now, let me tell you about a moment that changed my mind on all of this, because I was a jug man for years. I had a slow bathroom sink, drained like it was thinking about it. I'd been pouring chemical down it every couple of months, and every couple of months it'd slow right back down. An older fellow I knew did handyman work for a few of the Amish families out past the county line, watched me complain about it one afternoon and just shook his head. He told me the chemical was probably part of the problem, that I was glazing the inside of the pipe. He had me pull the trap, that's the U-shaped pipe under the sink, and what came out of there I will never forget. It wasn't grease in that one. It was a gray, ropey plug of hair and soap scum, soft and slick, about the length of my finger, and it smelled like something that crawled in and died. The chemical had been running right past it for years, just thinning the edges. It never touched the heart of it. He had me drop that trap in a bucket of hot water with a couple of big spoons of washing soda. Came back 20 minutes later, and that plug had practically dissolved into slime you could rinse off with your thumb. The soap scum, which is basically the same family of greasy buildup, just gave up. And the inside of that pipe, which had been brown and rough, came out smooth and gray, like new. That's the day I stopped buying jugs. And I want you to have that same day this week with a $2 box. And if you want to go even deeper into this, every method, every pipe type, every situation the average homeowner actually runs into, I put it all together in a guide called the Plain Pipe Handbook. It's written the same way this video is. Plain language, no filler, no tools you don't already own. Everything from the weekly maintenance ritual to the jobs where you genuinely do need to call someone so you always know which is which. You can find it linked in the description or head straight to eli-yoder-the-plumber.com. It's the kind of reference you keep under the sink right next to the washing soda. Now let's get back to the part most people have completely backwards, and it's the reason your baking soda has been letting you down. So that brings me to the thing most people get exactly backwards, the part I promised I'd explain. Baking soda versus washing soda. A lot of folks pour baking soda down the drain, the little orange box from the fridge, and wonder why it doesn't do much. Here's why. Baking soda is mild. On the scale we use to measure how alkaline something is, baking soda sits around 8. That's barely above neutral. It's gentle enough to brush your teeth with and put in cookies. It is not going to saponify a hardened wax clog. It just doesn't have the strength. Washing soda, the sodium carbonate, sits way up around 11 on that same scale. That's 1,000 times more alkaline, because that scale jumps by powers of 10 for every single number. So when you go from baking soda to washing soda, you're not getting a little more cleaning power. You're getting an enormous leap in it. That's why one works on grease and the other mostly just fizzes for show. And here's a little something that's going to make you smile, because it means you might already have the strong stuff hiding in your pantry. You can turn cheap baking soda into washing soda in your own oven. It's the same trick that saved frugal folks money for generations. Spread a layer of plain baking soda on a baking sheet. Put it in the oven at 400 degrees for about an hour and stir it once or twice. What's happening is the heat is driving the water and carbon dioxide out of the baking soda, and it chemically changes into sodium carbonate. Washing soda, you'll actually see it change. It goes from the shiny, fine, clumpy powder you started with to a dull, grainy, flat-looking powder. That dullness is how you know it converted. When it looks chalky and matte, it's done. So a 50-cent box of baking soda becomes a box of the strong, drain-clearing mineral for the price of an hour of oven heat. The Amish would absolutely approve of that, turning the cheap thing into the powerful thing with nothing but a little patience and warmth. Just let it cool, store it in a sealed jar, and label it. Because dry baking soda and dry washing soda look close enough that you don't want to bake cookies with the wrong one. Now, before we go further, let me give you the safety talk, because I'd be doing you wrong if I didn't. And honestly, it's part of why this method beats the jug. Washing soda is much safer than commercial drain cleaner, but it is still strongly alkaline, and strong alkali is rough on skin and especially on eyes. So wear a pair of rubber gloves when you handle it. Don't rub your eyes. If you've got it in powder form, don't lean over and breathe a cloud of it. Just simple common sense, the same way you'd treat any cleaning product. Here's the big one, and I want you to hear this clearly. Never ever mix this or anything on top of a commercial drain cleaner that's already in the pipe. If you've already poured a jug of the orange stuff down there and it didn't work, do not then pour washing soda or vinegar or anything else after it. You can create dangerous reactions and dangerous fumes, and you can get a splashback of caustic liquid. If there's commercial cleaner already sitting in that drain, the only safe move is to stop and call a professional and tell them what's down there so they can protect themselves too. This mineral method is for a pipe you haven't dumped chemicals into, or one that's been thoroughly flushed. One more. About boiling water and your pipes. If you've got modern PVC plastic plumbing, a kettle of boiling water now and then is fine, but you don't want to make a habit of pouring, rolling, scalding water repeatedly down the same plastic line, because very hot water over and over can soften plastic joints over the years. If your pipes are plastic and you're doing this for maintenance, just off the boil is plenty, or use the hottest water from your tap. If you've got metal pipes, boiling water is no trouble at all. And never pour boiling water into a cold porcelain sink or toilet bowl, because the sudden temperature change can crack the porcelain. Run a little warm water first to take the chill off. There. That's the whole safety picture. Notice how short it is compared to the warnings on the back of that orange jug. Now, let's talk about where this works and where it doesn't, because I don't ever want to sell you something that won't deliver This method is gold for the everyday clogs. Kitchen sinks full of grease, bathroom sinks plugged with hair and soap scum, slow showers, the smelly garbage disposal, floor drains that have gone sluggish. Anything that's a buildup problem, which is the vast majority of what stops up in a normal house. What it won't fix is a physical solid blockage. A kid's toy flushed down the toilet, a root that's grown into your main sewer line out in the yard, a pipe that's actually collapsed or bellied underground. No mineral on earth dissolves a plastic dinosaur. So if you've done the washing soda treatment twice properly with the weighting and the hot flush and the drain is still dead, that's your sign that it's a mechanical problem. And that's exactly when a plumber earns his fee. The goal here isn't to never call anyone. It's to never call anyone for the 90% of clogs you can handle yourself, so that when you do call, it's for something real. And while we're talking about that garbage disposal, let me give you a bonus that costs almost nothing. If your disposal smells, and they all eventually smell, you don't need the little blue pods they sell for a fortune. Run some cold water, throw in a couple of tablespoons of washing soda, then drop in a few cut up pieces of lemon or orange peel, and run the disposal. The mineral cuts the grease film on the blades and the splash guard, and the citrus oils make it smell clean. Then drop a handful of ice cubes in and run it again to scour the grinding chamber. Pennies! Smells like a fresh kitchen. No mystery chemicals. Now, I told you at the start I was saving the most valuable thing for the end. The one move that means the clog never even forms. We're almost there, and I promise it's worth the wait. But let me set it up first, because the setup is what makes it click. Everything we've talked about so far is treatment. It's what you do after the clog is already won, after the water's already standing, after you're already annoyed, and treatment is great. It'll save you that $200 service call again and again. But here's the thing about the Amish, the thing I really came to respect. They are not running around their houses treating clogs all the time. They almost never have them. And it's not because their drains are magic. It's because their whole way of living is built around not creating the problem in the first place. They don't pour bacon grease down the sink. They wipe the pan with a paper or a rag and toss it before they wash. They catch food scraps in a strainer and feed them to the animals or the compost. The drain only ever sees water and soap, so there's nothing in there to build up. That mindset is the real secret, and it's the lead-in to the single best tip in this whole video. Here it comes. The most valuable thing you can do, the thing that means you will likely never deal with a kitchen clog again, is a 30-second weekly ritual that keeps grease from ever getting a foothold. Once a week, ideally at night after the dishes are done and nobody's going to need the sink for a while, you pour a quarter cup of washing soda down the kitchen drain and you chase it with a kettle of hot water, the hottest your pipes can safely take. That's the whole thing. Here's why it works so well and why it beats every treatment. Remember, grease clogs build slowly, a little waxy film at a time, deeper and deeper down the pipe where you can't see it. By running a small dose of the mineral through every single week, you're saponifying that thin film while it's still thin before it ever has a chance to grab food bits and grow into a plug. You're cleaning the pipe walls when there's nothing there yet but the faintest coating. The grease never gets to be a clog because it's getting turned into soap and flushed out every 7 days. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't wait until you've got a cavity to start brushing. You brush a little every day so the cavity never forms. This is brushing your pipes. A quarter cup of $2 mineral once a week, and you simply stop being a person who gets clogs. And if you want to make it even easier on yourself, do it on a night you'll remember. Sunday night, trash night, whatever sticks. Keep the box right under the sink with a little scoop in it so there's no excuse. 30 seconds. That's the trade. 30 seconds a week against ever standing over a stopped sink at midnight again, against ever pouring another jug, against ever writing another check, to have your own kitchen plumbing snaked. That's the move the Amish have been making in spirit for 200 years. Not a cure they're proud of, a problem they simply refuse to ever have. And once you start doing it, you'll notice something else. The faint sink smell you'd gotten used to, the one you stopped even registering, goes away because that smell was the grease and food film slowly going rancid down in the pipe. Clean the pipe weekly, and there's nothing left to rot. Your kitchen will actually smell cleaner, and you won't be able to put your finger on why at first. Let me pull this all together for you because I've thrown a lot at you and I want you to walk away with it locked in. The clog in your home is almost always grease and buildup, not a true blockage. The expensive jug attacks it with heat and harsh chemistry and often damages your pipes while barely touching the heart of the clog. The mineral, washing, soda, sodium carbonate, $2 a box, works by turning that grease into soap so it just washes away, gentle on your pipes and brutal on the gunk. For a slow drain, half a cup of washing soda, hot water before and after, wait 15 to 20 minutes, then flush for 2 full minutes. For a stuck drain, bail the standing water, add the soda, add a cup of vinegar for the mechanical fizz, cover it, wait 10 minutes, flush with boiling water, wear gloves, never layered on top of commercial drain cleaner already in the pipe. Go easy with boiling water on plastic and on cold porcelain. And if you don't even keep washing soda in the house, you can bake plain baking soda at 400 degrees for an hour until it turns dull and chalky, and you've made your own. But above all, the weekly quarter cup and a kettle of hot water so the clog never forms in the first place. That's the one. That's the thing that takes you out of the clog business entirely. Here's what I really want you to feel now that you know all this. You are not at the mercy of a slow drain anymore. You're not at the mercy of a jug that doesn't work, or a service call you can't really afford, or that helpless feeling of standing over a sink full of gray water wishing you'd done something sooner. A $2 box on a low shelf just handed you back control of your own home. That's a good feeling, and it's yours to keep. This channel is all about exactly that. Getting more out of the things you already own and the cheap, simple, almost forgotten stuff that quietly does the work, the expensive stuff takes credit for. The folks who lived without a hardware store on every corner knew 100 tricks like this, and most of them still work better than what were sold today. So here's what I'd love from you. Tell me down in the comments. When you pull that trap or run that first treatment, what do you find down there? Is it the waxy grease? Or is it that gray, ropey hair and soap scum plug like the one that turned my stomach under my own bathroom sink? I read these, and I'm genuinely curious which one's clogging up more of your homes. Leave that comment and go ahead and subscribe while you're here so you can stand with the rest of us who are just plain done overpaying for things we can do ourselves. And one more thing before you go. If you think the stuff hiding in your laundry aisle is impressive, wait until you see what one more cheap mineral, the one sitting right next to the washing soda, can do for the hard water stains and the rust rings that the bathroom cleaners can't touch. That one surprised even me. But that's for next time. Until then, let me leave you with a little more to chew on, because there's a question I get every single time I share this, and you might be wondering it right now. Folks ask me, does this work on a septic system, or will it hurt the tank? And the good news is, washing soda is far friendlier to a septic system than the harsh commercial cleaners are. The big chemical jugs can kill off the good bacteria your septic tank relies on to break things down, which is a whole expensive headache of its own. Washing soda used in these small, sensible amounts doesn't wage that kind of war on your tank. You're not dumping gallons of caustic poison into the ground. You're running a mild mineral through the same one that's been in laundry water flowing into the earth for generations. So if you're on a septic system, the weekly quarter cup is actually one of the kindest things you can do for it, because a drain that stays clear and a tank full of healthy bacteria are two halves of the same happy system. And remember this, the next time you're tempted by a flashy label promising to dissolve anything, the simplest answer was usually sitting on the shelf the whole time, costing almost nothing, waiting for somebody to remember it. Now you're one of the people who does,